Gym is right behind me. I'm going to do Pilates Mondays and Fridays while we're staying at Coolum. And look at this, the lake is just stunning today. What a beautiful winter's day it is here. In summer, this aqua park, Blast Aqua Park, comes alive. They've got all these basically inflatable ramps and obstacle courses and trampolines and so on. It's just a truly fun place to be. You can hear someone water skiing in the background. I so needed that exercise class and the break. I was up late last night. I've just been working so hard and moving at such a pace this week that I really haven't had much time to even vlog about it. So last night I hosted a steering group meeting for the Learning and Performance Institute for the Capability Map Refresh. It went from 10:30 p.m. to midnight my time, but for one of the participants it was 5:30 a.m. their time. So this is an all Perugian beach. This is like a long stretch. I think there's multiple beaches along here, but it's a beautiful big stretch of sand. It'd be cool to walk from one end to the other. Will you do that with me, Jess, one day? Walk from one end to the other? I've had a lovely afternoon nap to recover from the late night / early morning meetings today. And I've picked a spot outside to work. Jess has picked a nice spot for her afternoon tea and reading. I don't think she'll be sliding down today though. I'm going to stock take where we're up to with this Capability Map Refresh project after the steering group meeting last night. So it's only been a month, 5 weeks we've been working on this. We kicked off on the 24th of May with an open feedback survey. We had over 50 people respond to that. People who previously completed the capability map or used it, plus some invited experts. So I then spent a week furiously analysing the feedback in some level of detail, I might add, and we released the feedback in 2 waves to the steering group. First, what we called the big picture feedback was a revised list of skills and generic levels. And by levels, I mean 4 generic skill levels but we define or describe for each skill what the level of skill looks like so people can assess where they're at and have something to aim for their own development. I then took all the steering group feedback on what we're calling the big picture and prepared a discussion pack for the meeting last night. So key things included in the pack was a list of principles that we're using to identify what skills should go into the capability map. We identified some of the key shifts facing learning and development because we want to make sure that the capability map addresses both current practice plus emergent practice that will be necessary to address and accommodate these shifts in learning and development. And then I put together a proposed skill list in 4 working buckets. Now I'm not going to go through that skill list in detail because anyone who looks at this is going to give me their view on it, and believe me, we got a lot of views last night. And for each proposed new skill, I popped that skill into a table and identified if there was a current skill that mapped into it in part or full and added some dot points for discussion. And believe me, there was a lot of discussion. I mean, so much so during that meeting from so many smart people that at one point we were ahead in the verbal discussion of where people were at in the chat box and had to slow down to try to absorb everything. So whilst we didn't make the volume of decisions we had hoped to make with the steering group last night, we did clarify a lot of the issues which the next stage, the working groups, looking at the detail of the skill descriptions, are going to need to work through. So in addition to the video and chat transcript from the steering group meeting last night, I've also got a stack of detailed feedback from the steering group against my detailed feedback analysis. One of the things I need to do is pull together all the detailed steering group feedback from both the spreadsheets that I've distributed with survey comments as well as from the steering group meeting last night. Alright, so where are we headed? It's now 29th of June. By next Monday we want to get the working groups up and running to work on the detailed 4-level skill descriptions for each skill. So I've got to do some briefs for them and set up an online collaboration platform. So I've called for nominations. I'll be sending out invitations to join the working groups. We've got 2 weeks. I'm going to give them to that tight deadline and see how well they go. Might approach it in an agile-like manner and suggest that it's a sprint. I'll compile the input from the various working groups. Of course, I'll get visibility of what they're doing via the online collaboration platform Slack, and then we'll give the steering group a week to review the complete drafted capability, at which point no doubt I'll have a stack of editing to do. The next steering group meeting is the 7th of August, and rather ambitiously we've got in here the final edits over the following 2 days. So originally we hadn't planned on having the working groups. Naively, Don Taylor and I thought that we could just take the survey feedback, run it by the steering group, and that he and I would be able to make most of the updates, but they are much more comprehensive. But we now recognise that the rapid, volatile environment that we're working in, the amount of change that's going to hit learning and development, and the shifts we need to reflect in this capability map require more change to the skill descriptions. Also, that the nature of some of these changes requires people who are deeply embedded in helping learning and development ride through these waves of change and equipping them for the future and have the right expertise. We need these kind of people to help update the skills. All right, a little less conversation, as Elvis would say, and a little more action. Time to get on with preparing the working group briefing packs and composition. Jess and our resident cat Salem have become very good friends. Do you think the cat's comfortable, honey?
I don't know.